Hi everyone, it's Lynn from Devine Central. Have you ever heard the expression that when you're ready to receive it, the universe will give you an answer? So it is with tarot, aka the voice of the universe. There's nothing more frustrating when you're trying to do a reading for yourself or worse, for somebody else, and the cards just give you a big fat raspberry. You know, tarot is not a magic crystal ball, and oftentimes the message tarot has to give us is more important, well, than that little quick answer that we were hoping for. You know, it happens, and for all the clear-cut guidance and insight that some of the cards can give, others are just not going to make it easy for us. They pop up when we least expect it, and they stop a reading dead in its tracks. But with a little bit of forethought on your part, you can get ahead of these cards and salvage any reading like a pro. So today, what I want to do is go over a handful of these cards with you, and I want to show them to you through Anna K Tarot and Everyday Witch Tarot. Okay, here we go. First up is the High Priestess. She is known as the keeper of hidden knowledge. So she has a secret, and she's not sharing it with us. Or maybe your subconscious already knows the answer, but you're not ready to accept it, or you haven't had a chance to really process it yet. She kind of colludes with the universe on that level, doesn't she? You know, another problem could just be the clarity of your question. I warn people at my table all the time that if you give a vague question, you're going to get a vague answer. So something like, where is my life headed right now? It's too broad. And then you get the High Priestess, who appears to tell you that no answer will be forthcoming until you have a viable, well thought out question. Much like her, we have the Hermit. It's a time to pull back, to contemplate, to spend time alone, to draw on the wisdom that we have within. So if you were to ask the question, how do I fix my relationship? The Hermit might appear to let you know that it's not the relationship that needs fixing, but your unhealthy approach to it. Insecurities, fear of intimacy, unresolved childhood trauma. It's a sure bet that there's something that you haven't thought of yet. The Wheel of Fortune. The answer may be cyclical in nature on this one. I mean, sometimes we're in tune with it and sometimes we're not. It suggests that the situation may still be in flux. But don't worry, because the tides will always turn shortly. This could also mean that it's just bad timing for the reading, you know, because the Wheel of Fortune is a great timing card. You just have to wait it out. So for example, let's say that you might ask when you're going to meet your soulmate. Let's say that it's going to be farther out than a year from now. And since we all know that tarot is not good with timing anyway, and certainly not past a year, the answer may be uncertain or too far out. Another thing I like to consider with the Wheel of Fortune is karma. The universe keeps perfect score. And if you've done right by it, then you might just get your reward, which is the answer you're looking for. But if you owe the universe for prior bad acts, it just might put you on the back shelf, if you know what I mean. Next up, we have the Tower. This is a card of sudden change. So maybe the current situation is just too chaotic and changing too fast to be able to provide a clear answer. Next up, we have the Ten of Swords. Stick a fork in me, I'm done. It's over. There is literally nothing more that you can do. The universe has resolved the situation for you, so walk away. Don't bother trying to redeem yourself. It's not worth it. A new day will come. And sometimes we just have to wait for that. And we should take stock in the fact that we don't have to worry about the answer anymore. Eight of Wands. On the one hand, the card tells us that news is coming and it's coming in hot. I don't have that card depicted here. The problem is it's not here yet. And we don't know when it's going to land. And while we wait, unforeseen circumstances could change everything before it even arrives. We can't expect clarity from the cards when the situation is still in flux, or when the news that we need to take a course of action hasn't been given to us yet. We need to wait for it. Now, I always see this card as everything's up in the air, which is why I love both of these cards because I think they depict exactly what I'm talking about here. This is one of the few cards in the deck, if not the only card in the deck, that tells us to look at the other cards or turn to the cards around it to decipher what to expect. You just got to wait for it. Ace of Swords reversed. While the upright Ace of Swords can signify clear thinking and decisive action, reversed can often point to challenges and obstacles that are causing a delay in receiving the answer. It's another sign that patience is required. Another way of looking at this card reversed in this context is that we need to seek guidance outside of ourselves, outside of the cards, maybe someone with more experience in a situation, a trusted advisor, if you will. The Fool. Many believe it represents the unknown, the unexpected. So it might suggest that it's too soon to tell, or it's simply not available yet. I mean, think about this card. This is a new journey with no plan, no expectation. At this point, he has no knowledge. And look at how many lessons he learns in just the first few cards of his journey. There are simply too many variables. Too many things can change. The best advice you can give your client would be to embrace change. The answer you seek has yet to unfold. The Hanged Man. This card usually rears its ugly head when we don't have a clear perspective on the situation. It makes it really hard not only to gain clarity, but to believe the answer when it does smack us in the face. All we can do is trust that it will become apparent in time. The best answer we can give, when this card is the only one we have to work with, is the answer will become clear when a new perspective emerges. Next, we have the Two of Wands, and I love how it's depicted in my Anna Kay deck. This card often represents a crossroads. A new idea has come to light, and we're trying to decide which direction we'll take it. When it's reversed or in a negative context or position, it can mean our decision-making abilities have stalled. We may be stuck with analysis paralysis. We might be lacking some piece of information that holds up the process. The answer is not clear because the path forward is not clear. And maybe the information is simply not available yet, just like with the Fool. Now let's compare that to the Two of Swords. This makes more sense, doesn't it? It typically represents an impasse or stalemate. I call this card riding the fence. Do you even want the answer? Because sometimes there's comfort in just not knowing. It usually means we're afraid to face the truth about the situation or about our responsibility for doing something about it when we do find out. So the remedy for this is, are we asking the right question? Like, how do we accept it? Or how do we get past it? Next up is the Seven of Cups. Too many choices, too many possibilities. Add to that the element of wishful thinking where we can't get past what we hope will happen in order to see what needs to happen or what will happen. Distraction and overwhelm rules the day. We need to take the time to break it down into individual pieces and work from there. Decide what we really want, because the next cards we draw may just give us our answer. Another seven is the Seven of Pentacles. This card often represents delayed rewards. We do all the work. We cultivate the earth and plant the seeds, and we fertilize and we water, and we wait, and we wait. And that's the hardest part about it, is the waiting. We've invested all of this time and effort into a project that, well, we haven't seen anything come back to us yet. So we start to second guess ourselves. We start to question whether or not we've made the right decision, whether or not we should cut our losses and put our energy into something else. So for this reason, I see this card coming up a lot when clients are wanting an answer for something. And my response is usually, stay the course, if that's what they're asking. So for any of these cards, Rather than telling the seeker that our spirit guides have decided to take a powder on us, or tossing all the cards up in the air and playing 78 card pickup later on, how do we turn these readings around? Was our question too vague? Can we unpack it in several bite-sized pieces and work from there? Are we even asking the right question? Why am I so unhappy now that Fred's gone? When you really want to ask, is he coming back? But you're too afraid of the answer. Is the universe trying to guide us in a new direction? Maybe the question isn't being answered on purpose because the road that we're heading down has big fat detour signs up ahead and we just can't see them yet. So being forced to change course may just be our saving grace. It's hard enough when the cards just won't give us an answer for a self reading. But what do you do for a client? You could gently let them know that sometimes we have to accept the fact that the timing is wrong, and for all the reasons I gave earlier. Suggest that this might be a good time to do some soul searching and figure out what they truly want, because they may find that this question really wasn't the one they wanted to ask in the first place. We could break it down and rephrase the question, then lay a new spread. So whatever you do, don't ask the same question again. I mean, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result because you're probably not going to get one. So you either consider pulling a clarifier to the question and just be sure that you have a specific question in mind for that clarifying card. And if you've already been shut down by, say, the high priestess, asking again is going to be pointless, right? So try confirming whether or not she's trying to tell you that you aren't supposed to know right now, as an example. How about keeping the same question, but asking a different deck? If you interview your decks on a regular basis, or you handle them on a regular basis and become intimate with them, then you know what language they speak. Maybe that will give you a different answer. And one other. If you believe, as I do, that the cards are spirit-driven, ask yourself, how serious were you about that question in the first place? They'll know. And sometimes they just choose not to answer. It doesn't mean there isn't an answer. It just means they're demanding some respect. Well, I hope that gave you some food for thought. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. That's how people find me. And I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.